viewers of this video are likely to know, the situation in Afghanistan really exploded about 6 weeks ago. It's mid-October right now, and mid-August was when things really started to become apparent that there was a humanitarian crisis that was brewing in Afghanistan. And so AILA jumped into action, and I was really thrilled to have an opportunity to support the work that AILA was doing when they organized the Afghan task force. They started with a very huge event that was organized on short notice with several speakers that talked a bit about the various legal options that were going to be available to Afghans. And then they started the Afghan evac email list. Because of the fact that I've been involved with the AILA Military Assistance Program, which is a national committee that focuses on supporting military service members, getting involved with this particular task force and getting involved with this initiative was a very natural fit for me. I felt compelled to do so, both as a result of my work on behalf of the Military Assistance Program, my own sentiments and feelings about the importance of supporting individuals who have really put their lives at stake to support the American initiatives and the American presence in Afghanistan. And then, frankly, for me, also as an American of South Asian descent, while my family is not from Afghanistan, we are from a region that's not too far away from that part of the world. And there was really a realization for me on many occasions, as I've seen a lot of the humanitarian immigration programs in the United States, that immigration ultimately boils down to the same set of circumstances for everyone, which is the desire to make a better life for yourself and for your family members. And so, with all of that, the way that I chose to get involved with this initiative was to, A, better educate myself about what the pathways were, and then to take on a humanitarian parole case involving a gentleman who had provided support and security to a member of the Afghan parliament. His humanitarian parole case is still pending at this point in time. And his family is still working on a way for him to get out of the country because with the end of the American presence there are no consular services available in Afghanistan anymore. I've also been involved through another bar association called the South Asian Bar Association of North America in organizing an Afghan issues task force. This includes several AILA members as well as individuals who are helping from a fundraising standpoint. Knowing the scale of the need of people from Afghanistan, we're doing everything that we can to try to both promote pro bono volunteer opportunities as well as raise funds for individuals who may need help paying for the significant costs associated with humanitarian parole applications, for example. I think one of the biggest challenges, especially in the very early days in mid-August, is that accurate information was really hard to come by. It seemed not only that immigration lawyers were caught off guard by what had happened, but so was the administration. And it didn't seem like they had necessarily built up the infrastructure to immediately respond. There was a certain amount of chaos that seemed to be ever present in Afghanistan, particularly not so much on the benefits filing end, but more so on the end in terms of, okay, let's say you filed a humanitarian parole request for somebody or an SIV application or a P2 application. How do you ensure that that individual is actually going to be able to get on a flight and leave the country? Or if they can't do that, what are their other options? I think that particular challenge has only become more difficult because with the last American flights leaving in late August, it's really, in some ways, it feels like it's up to each individual Afghan and their family members to figure out a pathway for them to depart the country so that they could take advantage of some benefit that they might otherwise be eligible for. I know that there are some groups operating with support, or at least with the knowledge of the State Department, to try to provide charter flights and get people out, but it's still a very challenging situation in terms of getting accurate information. I think the other challenge is the challenge of understanding exactly how to navigate the benefits filing piece of it. it's one thing to do a humanitarian parole application, and it's another thing to do that in a very dynamic situation where people's lives are literally in danger on a daily and hourly basis, or trying to work with clients who don't have good contact information, who are in hiding to protect themselves from the Taliban, and therefore may not have good phone numbers. You're often working through family members in the U.S. and sort of, having a conversation with them, and then they go have a conversation with somebody else. The other challenge that I've noticed is that there's a real trust deficit for many Afghans. The number of times I've been asked by the client I worked with whether, who I was and whether I was trustworthy. The case that I took was through the PARS Equality Center. They forwarded a couple of requests to me, and I just reached out to them in response to that. They didn't really know me from Joe Schmo, to be quite honest with you. And it took a while for them to realize that, okay, I had been referred to them by the PARS Equality Center with whom they had submitted a request for assistance. And a lot of that is really coming from the fact that, Afghan society right now is, in a sense, of real chaos, and people who supported the United States feel besieged and really feel at risk. And they're very afraid of giving their contact information to anybody because they're not quite sure who's going to get it and what's going to be done with it. And so building up that trust requires a little bit of patience and an understanding of exactly what's happening on the ground there. My practice area is primarily business immigration. I probably spend 80 to 90% of my time in that area. And so there's a certain amount of intimidation involved with providing pro bono services to Afghan refugees and Afghan migrants who need immediate assistance. But I will say that my involvement with the military assistance program and other pro bono work, including some prior work on parole cases, really lessened the intimidation factor there. And I think it's important for all of us as AILA members, regardless of our practice area, to remember that at the end of the day, immigration is really about helping people. Whether you're a business immigration lawyer or you focus primarily on family-based immigration, there's lots of ways to go out there and provide assistance to people who need it. And so I think it's important for people to realize that they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills that they can contribute, which are desperately needed right now. And that was a big component for me, notwithstanding the fact that I'm extremely busy with client work and a variety of other committees and initiatives, to recognize how important this is, and that I was going to regret if I overlooked the scale of the need here, if I overlooked jumping in and doing something to help. Here's the great news. There are a wealth of really great resources available through AILA and through other organizations. So AILA has a special page dedicated to providing support for Afghan refugees, parolees, and migrants. There are specific resources there available if you want to volunteer and take on a case. If you have more experience and you want to provide support at a military base, they currently are providing dates and opportunities at Fort Lee, Quantico, and Fort Pickett in Virginia in the month of October. There are several slots available. The opportunities there are to go to those military bases and provide a legal overview to individuals who need help. If you're interested in taking on individual cases, whether humanitarian parole or some other benefit, you can do that by volunteering with the PARS Equality Center. For example, there are other organizations doing similar things that have been identified on the AILA page. The other thing that's very helpful about that AILA dedicated page is that there is a wealth of informational resources, including FAQs. AILA members, specifically Masa Khanbabai, has been very, very generous in providing a checklist for humanitarian parole cases and other resources that volunteers can use to help themselves organize their cases. Other individuals, such as Margaret Stock, have been extremely, extremely generous in providing lots of helpful information to resources through the AILA EVAC listserv. And that's a listserv that you can easily sign up for. You can ask a lot of questions there and get really helpful real-time responses from other AILA members. So I'd encourage anybody who's interested in taking on a case or doing phone screenings or just being available for a day to answer phone calls, as long as you have the right experience or are able to associate yourself with somebody with the right experience, to go to that page and really figure out what you can do to help. The scale of the need is obviously huge, and every little bit that you might do is going to count.